welcome to the Boardroom. On our show today, the Michigan hockey team left out in the cold after missing a third straight postseason, and spring practice is in full swing for the football team. We'll check in on Jim Harbaugh and co. to see what changes they've made. And finally, the women's basketball team making a deep run in the WNIT. I'm Max Bultman, and I did not get the jersey memo, but joining me today are hockey beat writers Jason Rubenstein and Zach Shaw, along with women's basketball beat writer Min Doan. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I want to start on the ice, where all year here we've kind of harped on the Michigan hockey team's defense. But when they lost to Minnesota in the Big Ten championship game, defense wasn't quite so bad. So, Jason, then, what was it that did them in?
It was taking too many dumb penalties. You're not going to beat Minnesota taking 5 penalties. They have one of the best penalty power play units in the country, and it seems when they had a power play, they kept it in the Michigan zone the full 2 minutes. And it was just only a matter of time, and only one more dumb penalty before Minnesota capitalized, and they did that.
Zach?
Yeah, I think the defense, I think you can give it some credit for improving in the Big Ten tournament, but I think ultimately Steve Racine really made that defense look good. Minnesota had 20-some shots in the first period, and that really set that defense back. And Michigan, even though the score was close, they were really playing on their heels for the entire game. So I think you have to give credit to Steve Racine, but I think that defense is still a work in progress and something that they need to look for to improve on next year.
You touched on that improvement. This seems like a unit that could make a lot of progress if it stays intact, but does it look to you, Zach, like that unit is going to stay fully formed by the time next season starts?
Yeah, I think so, and I think they're going to be able to add some talent and some depth. But I think the big thing that fans have to like is the development of Cutler Martin. He really showed up and looked like to be one of the Big Ten's best defenders. Michael Downing took steps forward, a few big hits here and there to get himself suspended, and obviously if Zach Werenski stays, he's going to be a huge asset, not just for the team, but really shine on a national level on that defense.
Yeah, Zach hit it on the spot. If Zach Werenski returns, this defensive unit has a chance to really take a massive leap forward next season. They have 2 high-profile recruits coming, Joseph Choney and Nick Boca, who's played for the U.S. program with Werenski last year. So if Werenski stays, which I think he will, he'll be a top 10 pick in this year's draft, so there will be pressure for the team to want to get him to play for their AHL team. But if he stays, I think this unit could really do something special next year.
You mentioned attrition. What does it look like on the broader scale, outside of just Werenski? I mean, who does it look like is going to come back first go to the NHL?
Well, yesterday when we talked to Red Berenson, we found out that there are 3 players that are on the fringe: Andrew Kopp, Dylan Larkin, and Werenski. Like I said, Werenski, I think, will be back. Andrew Kopp, a Winnipeg Jets pick. I think it's 50-50, but I'd have to say he comes back. He'll be a 2-time captain if he comes back next year. And then there's Larkin, a Detroit Red Wings pick. And I think he's more on the fringe. He had an incredible season, and the Red Wings are just biting their nails waiting for him to come.
Yeah, if we're talking about hunches and decisions, I think Andrew Kopp will be back. He has sentimental ties to the team, being from Ann Arbor, being the captain. He loves every single game, win or lose. And so I imagine that he's going to come back for his senior year. But I do think Dylan Larkin, just the general sense, even among the team, is that he's really liking what he sees with the Red Wings. The Red Wings, he's their most coveted prospect, and so they want him to get started right away and really get in there. I think Zach Werenski, as Jason said, really young, still developing, but can be a really, really top-tier player, and I think he's going to go ahead and stay another year. But fans have to be most excited that Red Berenson decided yesterday that he's going to be coming back for his 32nd season as long as the athletic department's going to have him, and I think Jim Hackett is definitely going to allow him to come back for one more year.
Great. All right, I want to move to the gridiron now where spring practice has started, and Jim Harbaugh and co. already making moves. We saw Mason Cole at a brief glimpse of an early practice in the middle of the line at center. Could you fill us in on that at all, Zach?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to make it to availability, but the general sense that I'm getting is that this is a team that Jim Harbaugh and Drevno want to be a very interchangeable and flexible offensive line. They have experience. Some of them have experience at multiple positions, but the fact of the matter is they need people to step up wherever there's holes, and right now center is one of those holes. And I think just having guys in there, anyone who's able to step up is going to be huge for that offensive line because if you look at Jim Harbaugh's teams, they almost always win in the trenches. And so being able to have some experience and some flexibility, having next man up mentality at all 5 positions is really going to help Michigan in the fall.
Yeah, Zach mentioned the flexibility, but Tim Drevno, the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach, has had a history of success with his players. He had 3 NFL players on his Idaho team. So, I mean, if that doesn't speak about him as a coach, I don't know what does. So, flexibility, I think he's just toying around to see what he has, and I think this will help them in the long run.
Yeah, as far as the quarterbacks go, obviously there's three big ones in the mix: Wilton Spate, Alex Malzone, Shane Morris. Min, can you shed any light on what one of these guys needs to do to emerge from the pack?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is they have to not throw interceptions. I mean, I think fans last year were getting pretty antsy about the interceptions being thrown by Devin Gardner, Shane Morris. So as long as he can throw the ball to his receiver without another defensive player getting the ball, I think he should be fine.
Yeah, I think they're bringing back a lot in the running game. They've got 4 guys who conceivably could start for the Wolverines at running back, and so I think this team is going to be a little bit different than what fans are used to. It's not going to be as much of a pass-happy team. I think they're going to try to run the ball right down the gut, and ultimately the quarterback needs to be able to manage the game and just make sure that he's not making any mistakes that are going to get that solid run game in a tough spot.
All right, I want to go to the WNIT now, where the Michigan women's team making a little bit of a run. They dispatched Toledo pretty easily in Toledo on Monday night. Min, you were there. What was it that made them so successful?
Yeah, it was a pretty hostile environment in Toledo. I think they had 4,000-something fans. Last time they played in a crowd that big against Notre Dame, I think 7,000, they faltered. Notre Dame destroyed them. What was different in this game was Caitlin Flaherty was on her game. She shot the ball incredibly well, making her first 8 shots. She went 11 for 15, 25 points. Also, Sierra Thompson had 20 points. Those two carried the team.
Yeah, and I think another positive you can take from that game is they played well without Saisha Goree, who is in foul trouble. And historically this season, when Goree gets in foul trouble, this team has really struggled, considering she's basically their only down-low presence. And that's a real positive they can take moving forward into the Sweet 16 and maybe more games after that.
Yeah, the Rockets are ready to blast off into the Sweet 16, but Michigan's out-of-this-world shooting brought them back down to earth in Toledo.
All right, all puns aside. Min, you talked about Caitlin Flaherty. She and Sierra Thompson both struggled a little bit on the road earlier this year. How do you explain their big games?
I think it comes down to maturity and growth. Throughout the season, they've been able to grow. Caitlin Flaherty's gotten more playing time as the season's gone on. And even not just Flaherty and Thompson. You can talk about Jillian Dunston, who came in for Goree. She was exceptional. Amani Jackson got her first start in the first WNIT game. Just the younger players on the team are growing, and that's what's helping the whole team as well.
All right, so just real quick then, how far do you see this team going in the WNIT?
Well, I hope they're eating their Frosted Flakes because they got to take on the Missouri Tigers next. It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I think looking at the teams, there's only 3 teams that are above them in the RPI left in the tournament. I think they can make it to at least the Final Four.
Yeah, and if Goree stays out of foul trouble in all the games, which is a big if, I think they can win it all.
All right, there you have it. Decisions to be made on the ice, moving parts on the offensive line, and who knows how far the women's basketball team could go. Thanks for joining us today, and make sure you keep up with our content all week at MichiganDaily.com. Cheers.